it's Christine with Moonshine Safari and
Anthony from Moonshine Safari.
woo!
Yeehaw.
We are up to Outlander chapter 15.
Chapter 15.
15 in the book. And I think next will probably be the episode that covers the last couple chapters. Reminder, we have spoilers for both the show and the books. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you shouldn't listen, but you do want to be spoiled, so you should listen.
Get spoiled.
Get spoiled. So just as a reminder, last time was actually the actual wedding between Claire and Jamie. And Dougal had arranged it to keep Claire from having to go back and see Blackjack Randall. And so today is actually the consummation, the wedding.
Bom-Chicka-Wow.
I can't do it. Bom-Chicka-Wow. Anyway, so after her fainting spell, they go to the inn that they're all staying at to eat, and it's basically going to be, like the wedding dinner. Dougal grabs Claire by the arm to tell her, basically, get busy. There's no annulment allowed. You have to consummate the marriage. Get moving. And he doesn't want any questions about whether or not this marriage is consummated. Also seems to tell Jamie the same thing. And when he's talking to Claire, he goes, you know what, by the way, I knew Jamie's father. If he's anything like his dad, you guys are going to be fine. So, Dougal's little remarks, whatever.
It's his little encouragement speech.
Right. Get moving, guys. It's his Viagra speech.
Oh, sure.
Woo. Anyway, so Claire makes the note in the book that it was 6 weeks before that she came through the stones. So
6 whole long weeks she's been away from, what's his name?
Frank who?
Oh, Frank, that's right.
Blackjack's,
Frank.
like descendant, I guess is the word.
Well, his relative. Spoiler, no spoiling.
So she goes up to her room and she's kind of alone, and Jamie comes in and he tells her, don't be scared of me. I'm not going to just jump on you. I'm not going to take advantage. And she doesn't really think he's like that. She basically thinks that unless she were to actually ask him, he wouldn't actually force her to do anything. She does think he's a hottie, but does make a note that she's never deflowered anybody before. The term deflowering. Anyway, so Jamie's holding her hands, and she notices that they're rough. He has rough hands. I mean, he's a warrior. They raid cattle. They do all kinds of stuff. He is not an indoor paperwork dude. And she's used to Frank, who is an indoor paperwork dude. That's just something that she takes note of. That Frank had really nice, soft, and well manicured hands, and that's not what Jamie has. He talks to her, and he's just wanting to talk about Frank. He goes, I know that you must be thinking about him right now.
Sorry.
Why don't you tell me about your husband? And she's surprised. But she says, I think maybe you're a little bit scared of me too. And he said, yeah, well, kind of. I mean, he's never been married before. He's never done any of this before. So yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking for him too.
Well, he's done some stuff.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you never gotten married. He's known her for 6 weeks.
And
this is not somebody,
quote unquote, a virgin.
A virgin, right? Exactly.
But he's done some stuff.
He's not
maybe like
a monk. Well, he actually says that.
Yeah.
But he's done some things. I mean, she saw him fooling around with Leary in the castle, so it's not like he's never done any of that. But they are chatting, and they're just trying to get used to each other. They're awkward right now because they've been around each other, but not in this way. This is different.
It's been 6 weeks.
Frank who?
Right. And now they got to do it.
So they're chatting. Basically, a lot of it's taken up by them chatting and getting to know each other. She actually gives him back the ring that he used for the ceremony because it was his father's ring, because he had taken it off his hand because nobody thought to get a ring during the ceremony. So he had taken off his father's wedding ring and put it on her hand so that they could complete the ceremony. So they kind of start talking about that. And she wants to know why he agreed to marry her. And before he kind of gets into that, he goes, okay, there's something I need to make sure we understand. I know that you have secrets. You don't have to tell me everything that you can't tell me, but I don't want you to lie to me either. So if you tell me stuff, you need it to be true. And if you can't tell me, you just need to not tell me. Which
That's fair.
That's fair. Just don't lie to me. I don't like that. And that's actually something that goes forward throughout the life of the books, that when they have a conversation, the idea is that it's always supposed to be at least honest.
But she supposedly can't lie anyway because she's got that.
It says she has a
doesn't
glass
have
face.
Yeah. So they always know when she's trying
They
to
always
fib
say they
anyway,
can read
so
her.
it doesn't matter.
It's pretty funny. He says he has a few reasons that he married her. One of them is to protect her. And there we go back to the protection theme for Jamie. He's always trying to protect somebody. Also, he knows Blackjack Randall. He knows him. I mean, the man flogged him to within an inch of his life.
Oh, he gonna know him even better than almost, never mind.
Yeah, spoiler, but yes, he's going to get to know him even better.
Yeah.
He also says, well, what if I just wanted to sleep with you? And she says, well, did you? And he goes, well, yeah, if I'm being honest, sure. And she said she knows she finds him a hottie, but essentially she says, well, what makes you think you had to marry me to sleep with me? And then he gets all indignant about that because it's back to that whole 18th century, virtue and all that stuff. So
reputation.
Exactly.
Able to do any of this. And Claire's like,
lots of the talk actually is very similar to what you see in the episode in the show. They do talk about family and relationships because he's part of Clan Mackenzie, so most of these people are related to him in some way or another. He's kind of explaining all the relationships.
And Claire's just making him wait.
Yeah, well, basically.
Yeah, she's making him wait. She's playing the game. She's making him wait.
When he's explaining all the relations, he says that his father was illegitimate, which is a plot point for later. So, spoiler alert, that's going to come up later, the lineage of his father and stuff like that. So much family. Dougal and Colum did not want their sister to marry Jamie's father. They didn't like it. But she snuck away. There's a whole story that goes with it that you learn more about later. But when she did marry him, they also did not want her just to be a tenant farmer. So they deeded over some nice land, which is where Jamie's home is now. But the idea was, and this is important for plot purposes, the idea was that it could only be passed to Ellen, which is Jamie's mother. It could only be passed to Ellen's issue. And obviously his sister's married to somebody, so it would actually come to Jamie. It would be Jamie's land. And this is really important. That becomes important for some of Dougal's motivations as it goes on. If Ellen were to die without any issue, or that they died without any of their children, then the land would go back to the Mackenzies. That's very important. So he tells her that after the flogging, he spent time in France fighting with the French. And she's shocked. She goes, well, what? You stayed a virgin? And he kind of makes some clever remarks about, you might have too if you'd have seen the choices I had over there, which is nice. I know, it's pretty funny. He comes back, and after he had spent some time in France for a couple of years, he comes back and he's living rough with a bunch of guys, and they're raiding and doing whatever. But at some point, they're going out for a raid, and he gets hit in the head with an axe. Dougal was close. That's very important.
How close was he?
Exactly. How close was he? They thought he might die, so they actually sent him to his uncle in France, a Catholic abbot at an abbey, and they took care of him. And so he recovered there, and so that also becomes important because we see that guy again. When he came back, he actually came back with the Mackenzies, and he had joined. And that was the day that they got in a fight, and he got hurt, and enter Claire. That's when Claire comes through the stones. So he hadn't even been back that long. He had been in France for a while, and then he'd been hanging out with some other guys. And then the day that he's back with the Mackenzies, here's Claire. So he hadn't even been back to the castle when she went to the castle. It was his first time at the castle also in a long time. He'd been there before, but he hadn't been there recently. So he wants to know about her family, and she feels like she can kind of tell him a lot about her family without saying anything about airplanes or cars or anything. So she tells him about her family, her uncle raising her parents had died, etc.
That is some serious foreplay.
Yeah, they have a lot of chatting. Lots and lots of chatting. So
where are the witnesses?
Well,
there got to be witnesses.
They're hanging out in the
They're all getting drunk, aren't they?
Exactly. They're all hanging out in the banquet room.
Like, no way, he's a virgin. It wouldn't take that long. Anyway.
Well, she says, I guess he's going to let her go to sleep. She goes, you want to go to bed? And
he's like, yes.
Well, she says she's going to go to bed, and he goes, to bed or to sleep? Which, that's very similar in the book and in the show. It's kind of interesting. And he's like, what do you mean? Are we going to go to sleep now, or are we going to actually do what we're here to do? And so, either way, he says, you're not going to sleep in your corset and all that stuff. They call it, what do they call it? The stays or whatever. And he offers to help her with the laces, of course, And then she helps him with his laces on his pants, and here we go.
Jamie's like Fonzie. He just walks up and goes, and the laces go up.
And they just fall away.
No, I'm just done.
That's right. She finds out he's a good kisser, and that's where he says, I'm a virgin. I was never a monk. So, again, conversation.
You learned how to kiss at the Abbey?
Much like the show. Huh?
Did you learn how to kiss at the Abbey?
Oh, he wasn't there very long.
Oh, thank God.
He was in France for a while.
With the monks?
Yeah, but he was also fighting in France for a couple years with the mercenaries. So there's more undressing. They talk a lot about what Jamie knew and didn't know, and he gets a lot of advice, he said, from all the men. What he knew and didn't know. What he knew and didn't know.
What he didn't know.
What he didn't know.
That was funny. What he knew and he didn't know.
And the conversation is a lot like that. They were all kind of telling him, hey, do this, do that, whatever. He's like, I pretty much just put most of that in my mind and figured it out myself. There's more undressing, more I can't do it. More Bom-Chicka-Wow. Not good at that. So later, after a couple of encounters, I'm not going to describe the encounters.
Thank you. We don't need that.
They're hungry.
Read the book.
Yeah, read the book. I mean, that's the word. This is a review. This
Read
isn't
the book
every
if
detail.
you want to get into the details
Of what happened. But they do get hungry later. So
Oh, yeah.
I know, right? So she jumps up and she said, I'm going to get you some food. Just hang out. And he's trying to stop her. And she doesn't listen. She's just trying to be helpful.
Because she's Claire.
When she opens the door, all of a sudden everybody starts cheering and laughing and teasing. And she turns around and Jamie's laughing. And he goes, well, I did try to stop you, you know. But they're the witnesses. Jewel wasn't going to let anybody leave until everyone could say that they had done what they had gone there to do.
Mission accomplished.
The mission accomplished. That's right. So he goes down and he gets him some food. He gets teased a lot. Whatever. Fine. He comes back. They eat. More encounters. Woo! They got busy that day.
This was his first time.
They're discovering some very Bom-Chicka-Wow stuff. There was some stuff that the guys told him he didn't believe, and it turned out that was real. And then finally, they fall asleep. Bless him. She's having a bad dream, but something in her dream, like noises she makes, wakes him up. And she realizes that he wakes up ready to fight. He pulls a knife out of nowhere she didn't even know he had close to him, and he's ready to go. And that kind of tells you something about him going forward as well, because that's how he sleeps. He sleeps ready for someone to hurt him. So
Hurt
kind of a
anybody.
big deal.
That's how men's protectors sleep that way.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. And that continues the theme.
Yep.
He offers to let her go if she's unhappy and basically tell Dougal nothing happened, annul the wedding. And she says, no, of course not. You know, they're not going to do that. So that is how the chapter ends. That is the Bom-Chicka-Wow night for Claire and Jamie. Frank, who? Oh, Frank. They're married now. Been 6 weeks since she came through the stones on her second honeymoon with her first husband.
Yeah.
Whew. We are, like I
Bigamy.
said, that was chapter 15, so we'll probably do the episode next. Please check out MoonshineSafari.com for past episodes and some of the merch we have up and just some fun stuff. It's fun.
Yes, check us out on all of our social media
All
stuff.
social media.
And thank you for
Thank you.
listening and liking and sharing.
Woohoo!
Almost
We'll
broke
check in with
something.
you again.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.